The first time Elias saw the message, it was embedded in the central archives of the Galactic Unity Council, buried under layers of diplomatic reports and interstellar resource allocations. It was an instruction meant for him specifically, though he had never asked for it. Subject 1175. Prepare to accept her. She comes for you. Elias blinked at the screen, the words almost too simple, too personal to belong to the cold bureaucracy of the council. He had spent his life following orders, mapping the edges of known space, cataloging worlds that human expeditions would never reach, yet he had never encountered an instruction that carried a weight that felt intimate. For months, the message haunted him. He tried to ignore it, focusing on his assignments, surveying asteroid belts, charting nebulae, and maintaining the fragile balance between human colonies and the alien alliances they were bound to respect. But always, in the quiet hum of the starship Ardent, he would return to that single line, prepare to accept her. He didn't understand why. There had been no introduction, no explanation. The Council rarely sent humans on personal missions. Their communications were usually cold, precise, and impersonal. And yet, this one was different. It was on the third cycle, while navigating the spiral arms of the Andromeda sector, that she appeared. Elias had been monitoring a quiet star cluster, recording the radiation fluctuations from a dying red giant, when the sensors pinged. At first, it seemed like a standard anomaly, a faint pulse, barely detectable, drifting through the emptiness of space. But then the form materialized, a ship unlike anything cataloged in the Unity archives. Its design was organic, flowing like water frozen in flight. Luminescent panels shimmered across its hull in patterns that reminded Elias of neural synapses. And from the ship, she emerged. She was unlike any being he had ever seen. Not human, but humanoid, tall, lithe, and radiating an aura that seemed to bend the light around her. Her eyes were pools of shifting color, deep and endless, and they looked at him with an intensity that felt like recognition, as if she had known him long before he had drawn his first breath. Elias's training screamed at him to be cautious, to maintain a protocol, to keep distance. Yet every instinct in his body demanded he move closer. Elias. Her voice resonated directly in his mind, bypassing the need for speech. I am here. He swallowed, his own voice stuck in his throat. You're the one I was supposed to accept? A ripple of amusement passed through her, like sunlight through liquid.
Yes.
But seeing you, feeling your hesitation, changes everything. Her words were a paradox. How could something he was meant to accept suddenly make him question every certainty he had? Every protocol, every principle, every truth he had known? She stepped closer, her form radiating a warmth that contradicted the cold vacuum around them. Elias noticed small, intricate markings across her skin, symbols that seemed to pulse with life. He didn't understand their meaning, but he knew instinctively that they carried purpose, perhaps even intention. I am called Lyra, she said softly, yet every syllable struck him with the weight of inevitability. I was sent for you, and yet you are not ready. He bristled, the need to assert control fighting against the pull she had on him. Not ready? The council said I was to accept you. That's the directive. She shook her head, and her hair, silver and luminous, flowed like tendrils in the void. Directives are written by those who cannot foresee the choices of the heart. You were meant to accept me. But now, seeing you, I see that acceptance is not enough. Elias stepped back, though his feet felt like they were made of lead. Then what am I supposed to do? Lyra extended a hand, the motion fluid, graceful. You are supposed to choose. To see me, not as a directive, not as a mission, but as something real. Something dangerous. He stared at her, the emptiness of space around them contrasting sharply with the intensity of her presence. And in that moment he understood. The council had planned the meeting, but they had not anticipated the awakening it would provoke. The following hours blurred into days. Elias and Lyra drifted through the star cluster, navigating the silence and the darkness. She taught him to see energy flows in the void, to feel the pulse of the dying stars, to perceive the subtle harmonics that tied planets, moons, and suns together. It was intoxicating, overwhelming, and utterly disorienting. He began to question everything he had ever believed. The Council's directives, the boundaries of human capability, even the nature of existence itself. And yet, beneath it all, a simple truth emerged. He had never felt truly alive until this encounter. One evening, if time could even be measured in the expanse of space, Lyra turned to him. Elias, the Council expects you to make a decision. Will you accept me, or will you deny what you cannot unsee? He hesitated. His mind raced with logic, with protocol, with the fear of consequences. Accepting her meant stepping beyond everything he had known. It meant defying the Council, perhaps even risking exile. But refusing her felt like condemning himself to a life of emptiness. I don't know if I can accept, he admitted, voice trembling. I wasn't prepared for this. For you. Lyra smiled, and it was the first time Elias noticed the subtle changes in her form, the way her body seemed to shimmer with possibility. Acceptance is not the end, Elias. It is only the beginning, and beginnings require courage. He looked into her eyes, those ever-shifting, endless pools, and finally understood the truth that had been gnawing at him since the first message. He had never been meant to follow orders blindly. He had been meant to choose. And in choosing, he would change everything. The decision came quietly, without fanfare. Elias reached out, taking her hand in his. It was a simple gesture, yet it carried the weight of 1,000 unspoken promises. And as their hands touched, a surge of energy coursed through them both, resonating with the subtle rhythms of the cosmos itself. You see me, Lyra whispered. Not as a mission, not as a directive, but as me. And I see you, he replied, his voice stronger now, filled with certainty he had never known. And I choose you. In that moment, the universe seemed to hold its breath. Stars flickered in silent approval, and the void itself seemed to hum with anticipation. For the first time in his life, Elias was not a tool of the Council, a cataloger of dead worlds, or a passive observer of cosmic events. He was a participant. The days that followed were a blur of discovery and wonder. Lyra revealed aspects of her existence that defied human understanding, how she could interface with matter at a molecular level, how she could bend energy to her will, and how she had traveled across galaxies in pursuit of him. Elias, in turn, shared the intricacies of human thought, emotion, and curiosity. Together, they became more than the sum of their parts, a fusion of understanding that transcended species, directives, and expectations. Yet, even in this newfound connection, challenges arose. The Council did not take kindly to deviations from protocol. Transmission after transmission arrived, demanding explanations, compliance, and, ultimately, obedience. Elias read them with growing frustration until he realized that obedience was no longer an option. He drafted a response, one that would mark the end of his life as a subordinate and the beginning of a new existence. Directive ignored. I have chosen a path beyond your comprehension. She is not a mission, she is not a subject, she is my choice. Any further attempts to intervene will be regarded as acts of aggression. Elias, former Council operative. The Council did not respond. Perhaps they were incapable of understanding, or perhaps they recognized that some decisions were beyond their reach. Either way, Elias felt a liberation he had never known. Lyra watched him with quiet amusement. "You finally understand," she said. "The universe is not a series of commands. It is a series of choices. And those choices define who we are." He nodded, feeling a profound sense of peace. For the first time, he was truly himself, not a soldier, not an operative, not a cataloger of distant worlds, but a man who had chosen, fully and irrevocably. Together, they journeyed beyond the star cluster, exploring worlds untouched by human or alien hands. They discovered civilizations that communicated through song, planets where the atmosphere was a liquid, and nebulae that pulsed like living hearts. Each discovery was a testament to the boundless potential of choice, of connection, of love that transcended directives and expectations. Months passed, then years. Elias and Lyra became legends whispered across the stars, a human and an alien, bound not by duty but by decision, shaping the cosmos in ways the Council could never have predicted. And in the quiet moments, when the light of distant suns danced across the deck of the Ardent, Elias would look at her and remember that first moment of hesitation. That first moment when seeing her had changed everything. He had been meant to accept her, yes. But what he had discovered was far greater. He had chosen her. And in that choice lay the true power of existence, not the mandates of a council, not the dictates of fate, but the courage to see, to feel, and to embrace the unknown. Lyra reached for his hand, and together, they drifted into the infinite, guided not by orders or expectations, but by the uncharted possibilities of what it meant to truly be alive. The years that followed were unlike anything Elias had imagined. The Ardent became their sanctuary, a vessel not only of exploration, but of freedom. Galaxies unfolded before them like endless oceans, and each star they passed was a reminder of how small the universe seemed, yet how immense it truly was when viewed through shared experience. Lyra had become more than a companion. She was his guide, his mirror, his challenge, and his inspiration. She taught him to see time not as a sequence of measured moments, but as a tapestry of possibilities. And he, in turn, shared the fragile brilliance of human emotion, laughter, doubt, wonder, and love. Together, they explored not just planets and stars, but the boundaries of connection between two sentient beings from entirely different worlds. One day, drifting near a binary star system, Elias looked at her with an intensity he had never felt before. The soft luminescence of her skin reflected the golden and violet hues of the stars, painting her in a light that seemed almost sacred. "Lyra," he said, his voice trembling with certainty, "do you realize what we've done? We weren't meant to follow orders. We were meant to choose, to create our own path. And in doing so, we've changed everything, not just for ourselves, but for everyone who believed life was dictated by protocol." She smiled, reaching for his hand, intertwining their fingers. "Yes. And the greatest power is not in following commands or fulfilling directives. It is in the courage to see truth, to embrace it, and to act with it. You have done that, Elias. You have chosen not only me, but your own humanity in its fullest form." For the first time, Elias allowed himself to feel the enormity of their journey. It wasn't just the physical exploration of distant stars and alien worlds. It was a journey into the essence of existence itself, into the meaning of life, connection, and choice. And in that moment, he realized that he had not only accepted Lyra, he had grown into someone worthy of the bond they shared. Then, as if the universe itself were responding, the stars around them shimmered with radiant energy, a silent acknowledgement of their courage. The Arden glided through a field of pulsating cosmic matter, and Elias felt something he had never imagined, a sense of being exactly where he was meant to be, not dictated by law or directive, but by the profound resonance of choice and love. Lyra leaned close, her eyes reflecting the twin suns before them. The Council may have sent me, and the universe may have guided you. But everything else, it was ours to make. And now, we can shape what comes next together. Elias drew her into an embrace, feeling the warmth of her energy merging with his own. For a moment, the vast emptiness of space seemed to dissolve, leaving only them, the bond they had forged, and the infinite possibilities ahead. Together, he whispered, we are unstoppable. And in that infinite expanse, as stars danced like sparks of creation, Elias understood the ultimate truth. Destiny was not a path to be followed, but a choice to be made. He had been meant to accept her, but seeing her had changed everything. And in choosing her, he had chosen life, love, and the extraordinary potential of what it meant to truly be human. Their story became a legend whispered across the stars, not one of orders obeyed or missions completed, but of courage, connection, and the power of choice. Humans and aliens alike would speak of Elias and Lyra as proof that the heart, once awakened, could redefine the very fabric of the universe. And so, they drifted into the unknown together, not as a soldier and a directive, but as explorers, lovers, and witnesses to the boundless tapestry of existence. Every star they passed, every planet they touched, became a testament to the truth they had discovered. That life, at its core, was not about what was meant to happen, but about what one dared to choose. The void around them was silent, yet it sang, a melody of infinite possibilities, of love unbound by species or law, and of a future written not in mandates, but in choice. Elias held Lyra's hand, and together, they faced the vast, uncharted universe, ready to write the next chapter of existence, not as pawns of fate, but as authors of their own extraordinary story.